Hello, Jennifer. This is Daniel here from the NCBI Labs, and I'm placing a call with you today where we're going to have a little discussion about seeing it your way for our live event. And Jennifer, I know that you are working with the ESB as a facilities and equipment coordinator, and I'm very delighted to have you on the call today to speak to us about your experiences. So, Jennifer, maybe if you want to outline for our guests a little bit about, your vision condition, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, so my vision is called Stargardt macular dystrophy, which means I have some central vision sight loss. So I use my peripheral vision to navigate around things and basically live my life.
Okay.
So very similar to age-related macular degeneration with the sight loss, but it affects more kids than anything else. So I was 12 when I was diagnosed. Okay,
so 12 years of age. So from there, then obviously that was a big change for you, and being in school at a young age. So how did you adapt then to that coming on through school?
So in primary school, it didn't affect me much because I wasn't diagnosed until 6th class, and at that it was that I had only a slight impairment where I'd have to sit closer to the whiteboard, and it didn't really affect my reading or writing too much at that stage. And then when I got to secondary school, I met the NCBI liaison with the Department of Education.
Yeah.
And we did a bit of Braille once a week or whenever she arrived, and it didn't really affect me up until 6th year. So for my junior set exams, I got the allotted extra time, and I had a reader for my exam paper.
Okay.
But they were the only accommodations that I required at the time.
Right.
So I didn't need any special needs assistance until I was in 6th year, because all the way along I was getting large print books.
Yeah.
And some of them were in Daisy format as well, if they were available in Daisy.
Right. So on the Daisy formats, then did you have a laptop or something in class then to view those?
Yeah, I had a laptop. I thought from I guess the transportation of the laptop was tough because I was on my own. I had a full bag of books.
Yes.
And I had to carry it. I had to carry the weight of a laptop as well.
Okay.
So I didn't really bring the laptop to school too often.
Okay.
Because actually as well I had a distance magnifier glass where I could put it up in front of my eye and see the board. That was it, yeah.
Very good. And that became I suppose then your long distance aid in class.
Yeah, pretty much for a lot of my time in school, yeah. I used to carry it around my neck as well, so all the guys in the class were like, "What's that thing? Can I look at that?" It was a real conversation breaker.
Yeah, exactly. I suppose something new like that in schools would raise people's curiosity. What is that? What do you use it for? Why do you need it?
Yeah. So like it was a good conversation starter, I have to say, thankfully. Because when you're in secondary school and you don't really know everybody at the outset, and you're just like, okay, I have something different than what you have.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And
everyone was cool with that, so they were.
Yeah. No, they're all just happy enough then after that. So then 6th year came about and the Leaving Cert came about, and because of the Leaving Cert then I said I need a bit of help here. I can't, like, the teachers themselves had enough of pressure on them trying to get a course finished within 2 years, and some of them felt under pressure with that. So I was like, well, I'm a student, I like to learn all this stuff, so I'm going to need a bit of extra help this year. So I applied and was successful in getting a special needs assistant for 6th year. So she took my notes during class, and she typed them up actually, and she brought them in all typed up, and
that was very handy.
Yeah, so that was grand. And because I only had her for a year, the department allowed her to be my scribe and my reader for my leaving cert.
Excellent.
Yeah, so she was familiar with me and I was familiar with her, and it was all good.
Brilliant. So then you went on to 3rd level in Athlone in the Midlands. And what did you study there?
Yeah, so luckily enough for me, I was accepted into Athlone IT and studied a Bachelor of Business for 4 years. So it was a bit of a change.
Mm-hmm.
The campus itself was quite large, and much larger than just moving from one end of a school to the other. It was building to building. Never mind hallway to hallway. So
that was quite a challenge in itself, I suppose, just being, landed into this big environment, and you have to go from place to place, and navigation as well, and a whole new learning experience for you.
Yeah, so what made it a bit easier was I was able to apply for DARE, which is the Disability Access Route to Education.
Yeah.
So that application went straight to the access officer in the college.
Mm-hmm.
And we were able to have a meeting before I started my first year. So we just got all the needs set out, the type of technology that I was using in secondary school, and how would that transfer over to 3rd level, and all that comes with that. So was there much changeover then in technology? So you were in secondary school, you were kind of using a laptop, but you weren't bringing it in as much. So when you had your monocular as well. So coming on to 3rd level, then you sat down with the access officer, and was there much of a change up then in what technology you were going to use for the next 4 years in Athlone? Yeah, there was. To be honest, it really suited my learning style.
Yeah.
They gave me what they call a note taker. So I had a note taker for my 4 years who took my notes during class.
Mm-hmm.
It was very flexible. It was a very flexible arrangement because I had a choice of whether I wanted the note taker to sit right beside me and take the notes under my instruction, or whether to sit away from me and take down everything that the lecturer was saying, and I could sit with my friends, so I wasn't causing that social barrier.
Yeah.
And what I found really great about it was the lectures were put up. Well, they were in a soft copy for a start, and then they were put up online, sometimes before the course, sometimes after the course, but most of the time it was before the lecture, I should say.
Yeah.
And I was able to download the slides onto a tablet.
Right.
And bring them to class and carry a tablet around rather than a laptop.
Well, very good. So you had a lightweight solution as opposed to the big chunky laptop that you had been familiar with before. So So in the lecture hall then, you would have had all the slides before most of the lectures going in. If there was a day then that you just didn't get the slides in time, how would you overcome that then in the lecture hall?
Well, if the slides weren't put up beforehand, you can imagine that the lecture was going to be pretty much theory based.
Yeah.
So, so the lecturer would do most of the talking and read out whatever was on the slide, which was great.
Right.
I also like if I started a new if I had a new lecture for a different module or whatever, I'd always go up and say it to them before they started class, and then have a chat then after they started once the lecture was over.
Yeah.
Just to say that, look, I'm in your class, I have a disability, this is what it is.
Yeah.
And then they were more aware.
Right. So they were aware and accommodating for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's brilliant. Like that, you had the lecturers then on board as well. You know, and if they missed getting you the slides ahead of the lecture, that they were going to make the extra effort during the lecture to explain the slides, conscious that you were there in the audience, so to speak, and to have it explained out as best as possible for you.
Yeah, exactly. And like when it came to the likes of an accounting lecture, some lecturers were better, had their notes better prepared than others. Others would do lots of practical examples during the class.
Yeah.
So when it came to that, I had to rely heavily on my note taker at the time. And just review all the notes that were taken during the class.
Right.
While the lecturer verbally explained what was going on and where figures should be displayed and all that kind of stuff. Okay,
brilliant. So overall then, it sounds like you had a good experience in third level and things went well for you. Would that be correct to say overall?
Oh yeah, definitely. I really enjoyed my time there.
That's brilliant to hear. And so when it comes to home then, right, and you know, obviously you have your hobbies and you have your things to do at home. Do you use technology then at home, or is it just strictly kind of, you know, do you just keep the technology for what you have to use it for, likes of work and study, or do you use tech at home as well?
Yeah, I use a lot of tech in my life.
Yeah.
It's my life support sometimes. Especially now that I'm finished college and trying to stay in contact with people and all the rest. I have a Samsung smartphone, which for me, I really prefer it because for a visually impaired person, I'm very visual.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It does.
And I like the Samsung because they have a feature on it, which is a triple tap feature.
Yeah.
And it will magnify your screen. And you don't need 3 or 4 fingers to move this magnifier around your phone like an iPhone screen.
Okay.
And so sometimes you can triple tap it with the one.
If you were listening to one of our past live events, we about a couple of weeks back, we had a kind of a little Android versus iOS debate going on, and it still rumbles on to this day. Neither side concedes the other has won. So maybe from your point of view, you're chipping one in for the Android side there.
Yeah, and what's even better is it has the same feature on their tablet, and I have a Samsung tablet as well.
Very good, very good. So I can hear, one of the guys that was on that debate is from Cork. I can hear the groans come from Cork right now as you say that. Jennifer, you're into cycling. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've been in nice few places with cycling. I started up cycling with Tullamore Cycling and Touring Club back when I was about to start my third year of college. So that would have been around 2013.
Yeah.
And I've never looked back. The club are brilliant. I don't have any family members that does any tandem cycling or is interested in doing any sort of cycling, really. So the club have really come together, and I now have a cycling tandem pilot for the last 7 years since cruising. So last year in particular, we with the cycling club, they organised a cycling trip to Mallorca. So so I spent a week out there cycling away. Even did the Stack Lovera, so I was delighted with myself.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say about cycling, really.
Yeah, no, fair play to you. It sounds to me like you're getting the best out of everything with your technology and your hobbies. When it comes to, let's say, socialising or going out shopping and getting about, how does that work for you?
Yeah, so if we're going on a day trip, shopping or anything like that, I use my rollerball cane, just because, I might see a person coming, but it might be the reaction time might be a lot slower than if a fully sighted person was able to see someone coming at them. So I bring the cane for that reason, more so than a safety thing. When I go out with my friends at night time, out to the pubs or anything like that, whenever they decide to open, generally just phone. I generally phone my friends to see where they are, or ask them to come outside and meet me outside when I arrive, or whatever. And they generally just link each other rather than any of the other kind of posts. Yeah,
very good. So, as mentioned earlier, you're with the ESB and you're getting on great there from all accounts. And sticking with navigation, to commute in and out of work. And I also understand that you started in Finglas, which is quite a bit away from your neighbourhood of Tullamore, and that you now work in Portlaoise. So maybe you want to explain, how the commute works for you in the early days.
Yeah, so as you mentioned there, I started working with ESB Networks in 2015. I finished college May 2015 and managed to land myself a job in October.
Wow, that was brilliant. Okay.
I haven't looked back. Yeah. So that was all thanks to my local NCBI community worker pointing me in the direction of the employability Midlands function of the HSE for people with disabilities, and they put me in touch with AHEAD. And through AHEAD, I managed to do an interview for ESB Networks in their customer service and distribution, as it was at the time, the section in Finglas. So that was interesting enough. It was a three-person panel of an interview with the ESB access officer, my future supervisor, and a HR representative.
Right.
So that was great. I think what really helped my case was I actually brought my handheld magnifier into the interview with me and showed them how this would help me do my job if I was successful.
Very good.
And of course, all my other experience as well.
Brilliant.
So
you went to, as I say, a little step above in the interview just to clinch it.
Yeah. So thankfully I was successful. So I started working in Finglas in October 2015.
Yes.
So I stayed there for a month of a 6-month paid work placement for AHEAD.
Okay.
So it was. And initially it was a month. So I had family up there at the time, so I stayed with them for the month, and then they transferred me to the local area office in Tullamore for the remainder of the 6-month contract.
Oh, very good.
So that was great. Great staying local and all the rest. And I
home with family and friends again would be good.
Yeah. So I was well looked after from a commuting point of view there. And then so February of 2016, they advertised externally for a contract of 3 years.
Lovely.
So I interviewed for that. Same again, 3-person panel, and the advantage I had was it was for a role in the team that I was already in.
Okay.
So yeah, at the time they advertised for 2 positions, so I got one and another lady got the second.
Lovely. So you had the experience of already working a bit in Tullamore.
Exactly.
And to I suppose cement your place there with another interview. And well done to you. And did you bring the handheld magnifier to the second interview?
No, I didn't bring it to the second interview. I felt like the panel would know would evaluate my work rather than my person to fit the job at that stage.
Brilliant. And so you're in Portlaoise now. So did you go from Tullamore then down to Portlaoise?
No, what happened was the 3-year contract was to be based full-time in the Finglas office. Okay. So in May of 2016, I started the role in Finglas, and I commuted by train, Lewis and bus.
Wow.
To Finglas for 3 years. Or sorry, not 3 years. A year and a half.
Okay, still a good substantial amount of time too. So you were getting on the train in Tullamore and into Houston.
Yeah, train from Tullamore to Houston, and then I would normally get the 145 bus from the front of Houston station to Delir Street. Yeah. I don't know whether you can still do that because it's the whole Cross City Lewis.
Yeah.
And then I would change buses from Delir Street to Westmoreland Street.
Yeah.
And get the 140 bus out to Finglas. And luckily enough, there was a bus stop outside the ESE office, so I only had to walk across the road.
Oh, lovely. But still, that is some going. And how long each way was the commute?
Roughly, you'd have to allow for 2 hours. 2 hours each way.
Each way, so 4 hours then altogether on top of your working day.
Yeah.
Quite a long haul for a year and a half. So eventually then you came back to Portlaoise.
Yes, so I interviewed for my current role as Facilities and Equipment Coordinator in the ESB Networks Training Centre, Portlaoise, in August of 2016.
Yeah.
And I was successful there. Again, 3-person panel. The Networks Training Centre is a standalone business unit within ESB Networks. Right. So it's a lot leaner from the lower tier to the senior manager.
Right.
And I didn't realise at the time, but the senior manager was on the interview panel with me that day.
Right.
Yeah, so along with my own manager now and a HR representative as well. So
very good.
Yeah, so that was a nice surprise to get on your first day there.
Yeah. But obviously you were impressed because you're based in Portlaoise now. and you're working away there. And when it comes to carrying out your role now in Portlaoise, and I suppose with a focus on technology, what do you what technology are you using? Are you still with the handheld magnifier, or have you more stuff as well?
To be honest, I moved away from the handheld magnifier.
Yeah.
I just felt like it wasn't doing the job I needed it to. It was good for the smaller documents, but it wasn't so good for a large document.
Yeah.
So what I have now is I have two large screens, monitors, I should say.
Yeah.
And I use the Supernova software for magnification. I don't really use it for the screen reader too often.
Yeah.
I only really need the screen reader when there's a PDF, a heavy PDF, probably about 20 pages before I need to use that.
Okay.
Because most of my work is based around emails and phone calls, and that's pretty much it.
You're kind of going between the screen and the phone, so you get a little bit of break from the screens.
I also have a CCTV called a Prisma. And what's good about the Prisma is that it connects into one of the monitors.
Yes. So
that I don't need an extra standalone unit.
Right. So you have your computer screen and your Prisma are kind of interlinked in a way up to the one screen.
Yes. So I can switch between the two. I can either use a second screen for work, I suppose, viewing different windows, or I could use it for just the Prisma solely. Brilliant.
So that saves a bit of desk space as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And is there any other technologies then that you use? So you have your Prisma, you have your Supernova on the screen. Is there anything else? The handheld magnifier is nearly redundant. There's nothing else you use?
Yeah, nearly redundant. Yeah, because what about the handheld magnifier is that it nearly zooms in by letter, rather than by word, because of the proximity to the page. Yeah. So it's good for the likes of if you were stuck reading a person's posted or something like that. Yeah. But if you're reading a letter or a bank statement or something like that, you're better off having.
Okay.
Because you can see the full page you can display the full page on the bottom, like underneath the Prisma camera. Yeah. And then if you're looking for a specific section, like if someone had something highlighted, like I could mark that with my finger and then just zoom in on my finger and I'll find what that word actually was.
Brilliant. So
I also have the Supernova keyboard, the
large button keyboard with the large letters.
Yeah. That's the one.
Very good. And obviously that helps you out with the typing as well. Well, I presume from the line of work you're an avid typist. But then obviously I suppose if you do have to reference the keyboard, it's handy to have the sometimes the keyboard shortcut, finding your Control and V or Control and C. Yeah. It's easier. And also it has shortcuts for the Supernova controls as well on the top of it. So if something comes in and it's larger than what I would normally see, I can zoom out pretty quickly rather than trying to go and find the control panel and gauge it that way. Yeah. So you have these quick access buttons across the top.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So and it sounds like you're getting on brilliant there in DSB and all this technology. Like it's empowering you to do your job. And every bit as good as a fully sighted person, and obviously you're getting on well. You're there in the role a while now. just commuting over and back from Portlaoise then, how is that working for you? Rural transport?
Yeah, so there is a local bus company called Townlink, and thankfully they run a good and regular bus service between Tullamore and Portlaoise. So I'm able to grab the bus at 8 o'clock in Tullamore and be in work for 9 o'clock in Portlaoise, with the help of meeting one of my colleagues in Portlaoise town centre and just grabbing a lift up to the office building with them.
Okay, which I understand. I know Portlaoise, it's about half a mile of a hop from the bus stop out to the ESB centre on the motorway road there.
Yeah, it would be. So it's about at most a 5-minute drive in the van, but if you were to walk it would be probably about 20 minutes. It
would, and on the wet mornings you definitely don't want that.
No.
Jennifer, listen, it's been brilliant talking to you, about how you've come up through school and through third level, getting a job in Dublin, back to Tullamore, down to Portlaoise, and everything is working out brilliant for you. And from listening to you speak, like, technology is certainly a big portion of your life, from communications and work, and even with a bit of navigation as well. So is there anything else you want to add to that, or that we didn't quite touch on?
I suppose we didn't really touch on the voice assistants from Google Home and other technology that I have.
Yes, this is Home, the Samsung tablet.
Yeah.
And then you have the Google Assistant. Have you a Google speaker?
I have a Google Home speaker, so I love it. I really love it. I love asking it the time. I love asking it different web searches. To be honest, it's made everything so much quicker and easier for me.
Yeah.
Like if I want to find out like how long it'll take me to travel somewhere, I can ask the Google Home speaker or ask the Google Assistant on my phone, and it'll bring back an answer. The very small percentage of the time, it'll be a completely different answer than what I want.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the majority of the time, I'm very happy with it.
Yeah.
I also have a voice-enabled smart TV, which is great because I don't know about you, but around my house, it's very hard to find a remote control sometimes.
Yeah.
Could be down the middle of the couch somewhere or whatever. But I can activate the television, and even from a standby mode, I can ask it to turn on. Right. I can do the volume controls and things like that. So, yeah.
Wow, that's a sound. What make a TV is that? I wouldn't mind one of those myself.
It's Samsung.
Samsung all the way. Brilliant. Just out of curiosity, you mentioned the Google Assistant on the phone. Do you ask it to ring people and text people and WhatsApp people for you?
Yep, all those things.
Yeah.
I even ask it. I even have a smart bulb in my bedroom.
Oh yeah.
And I do that's connected to my Google Home, which is connected to my phone, and I can ask it to turn off at night time.
So you don't have to get out of bed and turn off the light switch.
So I don't have to get out of bed.
Brilliant. Jennifer, listen, it's been a pleasure speaking with you, and thank you so much for coming on to the NCBI Labs live event and sharing your experiences with us. And it's been a very interesting listen, and I'm sure our audience will agree. So with that, I want to thank you, and we'll probably touch base again and see how you're getting on. And don't forget, if you do have difficulty with any technology, to get in touch with your local NCBI training and support personnel. So thank you once again, Jennifer.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.